covering Intermediate Java Lesson 4. My name is Aki, and we'll be covering scrambling and sorting. Before we get to that, we're going to be doing some quick review on array lists. How do you create an array list, and what are some methods you can use in array lists? I'll give you a moment to think about it. Okay. So to create an array list, we'll do array list data type. That's like your strings, your ints, whatever type you want to store. Name equals new array list, and then put in the same data type. And some methods you can use in an array list are add, remove, clear, and set. To scramble up an array, you need to mix up the items in an array, which is basically you want to move the elements of the list from their original index to a new random index. To do that, first we need to swap arrays. So if we want to swap elements B and A, what would happen if I set A to B, then B to A? Well, when I set A to B, I now just have an array of B and B. So I couldn't set A to the new location. So first, we need to save B to a variable, a temporary variable, and then we can set B to A and then A to the variable. So this is what that code might look like. So we have our class main and then our main method, and then we declare nums as our length 2 array with 1 and 2 in it, and then we'll print out the original array. Now, this is the actual swapping code. So first we set our int temp variable to nums0, and then nums0 to nums1, and then we can set nums1 to our temp variable. And then we'll print out our final array after swapping. If you put that code, you should have, instead of 1 and 2, you should have 2 and 1. Okay, so now you're going to be doing something pretty similar, but now you're going to create an integer array with 5 elements. And then after you print out the original array, you're going to switch the first and last elements, and then the second and second to last elements. So that, in this example, would be 2 and 16 are swapped, and then 4 and 12 are swapped, but 8 stays in the middle because there's nothing to swap it with. And then you're going to be using a while loop to accomplish this. I'll give you a moment to pause and then show the answer on the next slide. Okay. So here I left out the array initialization, but it'll just be the same as it was on the example slides earlier. And then we'll have int temp equals array 0, so we're setting our temporary variable, and then swapping, where it's basically the same swap code as the original example, but now we're going to do it one more time, and instead of 0 and 4, we're going to do 1 and 3. So we moved one index inward towards the middle. And then we'll use a for loop to loop through the whole thing and print the array. Now that we know how to scramble up an array, we're going to learn how to sort them. So when we sort an array, we're going to have a sorted array with the smallest number towards the left and the biggest number towards the right. So it would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are a lot of ways we're going to learn, or that there are to sort, but we're going to learn just the 2 simplest ones. So the first one, bubble sort, is pretty intuitive. Basically, you're just going to look at an element, and if it's bigger than the one on the right, you're going to swap them. So in this example, 5 and 3. 5 is bigger, so we're going to swap it with 3. And then we'll move to the next one. We're now comparing to 5. 5 is bigger than 1, so we'll swap it. And then here, 5 and 6. 5 is not bigger than 6, so we're going to leave it. 6 is not bigger than 7, so we're going to leave it. But 7 is bigger than 2. So you're just going to loop through until you have a fully sorted array. Now selection sort is slightly more complex. You're going to start at the beginning of the list, and then you're going to look through the entire list to find the smallest value, and then swap that smallest value with the current position, which in this case is the first element. And then you're going to go to the next one, and then find the next smallest value, and then replace it. And then find the next smallest value, and then replace it with the third one. So in this case, we are looking at 9, and then 10, and then here. So it's going to swap, and then 6, we're looking at the smallest one. So currently it's 3, but then we find 2, and then we find 1. So we'll swap it with 1. And then 8, we find 3, that's the smallest, and then 2, that's the smallest. And then we don't find any other ones, so we swap with 2. So that continues until you have a fully sorted list. So this is going to be the example code for selection sort. So you have your unsorted array here, and then you're going to have a nested loop. So on the outer one, you're incrementing from 1, 2, 3, 4, or index is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to be what you're comparing to. And then you set your minimum index to the current index. And then you have this smaller loop. This is the one that's looking for the smallest value in the array. And then if you find one, you're going to set the minimum index, the new minimum index, to be the current index. And then after that, you're going to swap the current one you're comparing to with the element at the smallest index. And then if you fully loop through the list, then eventually you'll have a fully sorted list. So now that you've seen selection sort, you've seen what it does and how it works. You don't have to 100% understand how it works, as long as you have kind of a general idea of what it's doing. Now we're going to try making bubble sort. And as a reminder, you're going to be looking at an element, and if it's larger than the next one, you're going to swap it. If it's smaller, you're just going to leave it and move on to the next element. And eventually, if you do this enough times by moving through the list, you will have a fully sorted list. And that's actually why it's called bubble sort, is because the larger elements kind of float up to the top or to the right like bubbles. So I'll give you a moment to pause and then go over the answer on the next slide. Okay, so bubble sort. So we declare bubble sort class and then main, and then we have our unsorted array. And then we're going to have this nested loop. And then inside the second loop, if the current index is greater than the index plus 1, which is the one on the right, we'll swap them. And then this is the same swap code we've been using up till now. And then here, you just keep doing that until you have a fully sorted list. And then we can just print it out here. Okay, so now we'll do some quick review. So what's the basic idea behind swapping elements in arrays or array lists? So first, we create a temporary variable and then move one element to the old spot and then move the variable into the other old spot. And why do we need random numbers when scrambling arrays or array lists? Well, we need to make the element appear in a random place. In our example, we just moved them to a predetermined spot. But if we want to actually scramble up an array, we would just pick a new index that is completely random. And yeah, remember Tuesday and Sunday office hours, 4:15, 5:15, and then this is our Zoom meeting.